for the public meeting. We had a silent prayer and a salute to the flag. Roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Ford?
Here.
Councilman Porto?
Here.
Councilman McMillan?
Here.
Councilman Bartolini?
Here.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mastrobuoni?
Here. All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council work session and regular meeting of February 21, 2012?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council for work session meeting of February 27, 2012?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained?
Abstain, I don't think I was here.
Okay,
I'm abstaining as well.
2 abstentions. There is a proclamation declaring March 2012 as the 93rd anniversary of Demolay. I'll read the proclamation into the record. Is there anyone to accept the proclamation, Denise?
No, I said I would mail it out and email them.
Right. Whereas Demolay is a character-building organization of young men from ages 12 to 21, and whereas these young men are seeking to prepare themselves to become better citizens and leaders for tomorrow, and whereas Demolay helps develop those traits of character that have strengthened good men in all ages, and whereas the organization has carried out the aforementioned goals for over 90 years through programs of athletic competition, social activity, civic service, and charitable projects, and whereas the members of Demolay Leaders of Bergen County, Easton Allen Chapter will observe the year of 2012 as the 93rd anniversary, so as to exemplify to all citizens here and everywhere their many activities, and to tender recognition to the millions of senior Demolay now. Therefore, by the authority vested in me, I proclaim March 2012 be observed as Demolay Month. I call upon the citizens to join in saluting the young men of Demolay and expressing our grateful appreciation of the fine example set by them in contributing to the welfare of our community. All right? You could pass that down to Denise. All right, we have certain appointments and personnel changes to make. Number 1 is to approve the salary change of Dolores Kane, Head of Circulation, from the annual salary of $46,788 to $47,654 due to an increase in longevity. The number due to an increase in longevity from 8 to 10% effective February 1, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Next is to approve the appointment of Joe Gramuglia to the Police Reserves, effective immediately.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstained, any opposed? Next is to approve the appointment of Stephen Oatley, 818 Summit Avenue, as a tenant representative to the Rent Leveling Board for a 2-year term to December 31st, 2013, effective on March the 6th, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Is Mr. Oatley here?
Said he did not make it. No.
Okay, all right. There is a blank on the next one.
Yes, Mayor, I would like to come back to that after the closed session tonight and reopen the public meeting to consider this item.
Okay. All right, so we'll skip the next one. There's various correspondence and letters addressed to the mayor and council, which are available to the public for review. Next, we have council liaison reports. We'll begin with Councilwoman Murphy. Do you have any liaison report this month?
Just to say that the library, the carpeting installation is finished. It looks really good. Everybody should take a walk over there and see what they've done. And as far as Shade Tree, they're working with PSE&G. They had, PSE&G had cut down a bunch of trees on Adams Avenue. So the Shade Tree has been working with them to get them to compensate the borough for these trees. There's about 5 trees that they took down. And that's it for me.
Paul?
No reports at this time, Mayor.
Johnny?
No, we spoke briefly last week about the Historic Commission, and we'll have to get that on the agenda for next time about what they want to do with the website for the next work session, if that's okay, Alan. That's it.
Ed?
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Al?
Just briefly, both school districts, River Edge and Riverdale, met regarding their budgets, and adopting them. The formal presentation is later. But for River Edge, they did go to the 2% cap. They're looking at a tax increase on the average house, I believe $68 a house. And for Riverdale, they also went to the 2% cap. However, because they had a bond coming off this year, it's actually an effective increase of 0.91%, which comes out to be $33 on the average house for River Edge and $44 for the average house in Oradell.
All right, thank you. That's with the increased school funding that they receive from the state, right?
Yes, that includes those numbers.
Tom?
No report this time, Mayor.
Okay. There are monthly reports that are on file for January 2012 from the Police Department, the Library Board, Historic Commission, Shade Tree Commission, the Library Board, and the Tax Collector. We have no ordinances on for first reading. There is one ordinance on for a second reading. That is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank pursuant to New Jersey statute for the calendar year 2012. Alan, could you just explain to the public what that ordinance is?
Certainly, Mayor. The state of New Jersey provides every municipality with the opportunity to increase their cap base from a 2.5% increase to a 3.5% increase, and then to bank any difference that you're underneath the increase for the following 2 years in case you need it. This does not provide for the spending of dollars. It provides for the authority to spend. The council this year will introduce a budget which will be below the spending limitation of 3.5%. So while you're going to increase your base up to the 3.5% to just increase the flexibility and the authority, you will not be spending up to this threshold this year. So this is to allow us to do that and to bank any difference for the future in case it's needed.
All right, do I have a motion to open the hearing to the public to speak on ordinance number 1759?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, the meeting is open to the public to discuss ordinance number 1759 regarding the cap bank limits. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak on this issue and only this issue? No one? All right. Do I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstained? Any opposed? No. All right, do I have a motion for the final adoption of ordinance number 1759?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, there are resolutions on for consent. Resolutions number 12-97 up to and including resolution 12-117, and then we'll do separately resolution 12-118 regarding the payment of bills. Before calling the resolutions by consent, does any member of the governing body wish to pull out a resolution for separate discussion and vote? Johnny.
12-111.
12-111. All right, that's the introduction of the budget.
Mhm.
All right, let's discuss that, and then we can take a separate vote on that. Johnny, why do you want to pull that out?
Yeah, I mean, I had some concerns just at our total tax that we're going to be hitting the average household with. You know, I know we did build a little bit in there, and I think we could have done a little better on the tax on the average household. I think that we definitely could have, you know, not a ton more, but we definitely could have lowered it a little bit more. We had an opportunity to maybe, you know, another $40 or $50 I think we could have went down, and still had a similar, no hidden services and still build a little bit into surplus for next year, just not as much for next year. So that's why I voted no when we were doing it, but it did pass, so that's why I want it separate now.
All right. Anybody else? Alan, what if anything would be the consequence of not introducing the budget at tonight's meeting?
You'd have to have a special meeting and introduce it by March 9th.
Alan, could we come up with a different figure tonight?
Yes, you could, if you so desired. We would then pass a resolution with the new figures. It might take some time and require some computations, but yes, that could be done.
Ed?
But Alan, can that be done before the final adoption as well? If we just introduce it, can we amend it
Yes, if
before
you
we adopt
introduce
it?
the budget, you can amend the budget prior to adoption. You can continue discussing the budget after you introduce it. There'll be a hearing on the budget 28 days after we introduce it on April 2nd, I believe, for the public to have the opportunity to comment on it.
And when is final adoption?
It could occur on April 2nd after the public hearing. We would need the state of New Jersey's permission to adopt the budget at that time. If they don't provide it, then we would have to carry, the issue until such time as they provide the authority for us to adopt the budget.
So we have up until April 2nd?
At this point in time, yes.
Okay. All right. All right, let's have a roll call on Resolution 12-111, whether to introduce the budget, to introduce the 2012 budget tonight. Roll call? No, wait a minute, there's a motion. I didn't hear a second.
What was
Who made the motion?
There was no motion.
Oh, you made a motion to pull it out, right?
Right, no, to
Yeah,
introduce
so
it.
it's just pulled out. All right. So we're going to take a vote on it.
I need a motion and a second to vote on it. We didn't get a motion and a second.
It's already on the agenda.
Nobody motioned to introduce it, Mayor.
Right.
Somebody has to motion to introduce it. I motioned to pull it out for discussion.
Right.
Somebody has to motion to introduce it.
All right.
No, Mayor, we need a roll call vote on the resolution. That's what we're doing now.
That's
We're
what I
considering
thought.
resolutions by consent or individually.
This one's individual, though. He asked it for a...
Right, so this would be a roll call vote on Resolution 12-111.
That's how we do it.
When we do motion by consent, we say
Okay.
motion to pass it by consent, and then somebody seconds.
Yes.
Councilor Ford?
Just so I know what we're voting on here, are we voting to pull it out?
No, it's already out.
Introduce
Okay,
it.
just introduce it, yes.
And it can be amended.
Councilor Porco?
No.
Councilor McMillan?
Yes.
Councilor Bartoloni?
No.
And Councilor Capello?
Yes. I'm confused.
Okay, so the budget is introduced.
See, I wanted to pull it out.
Sorry, we don't have to-
All right, we have, let's have resolutions 12-97 up. Yes.
I just wanted 12-100 pulled out.
12-100.
Okay.
All right, let's have discussion on 12-100, and then we will have a separate vote for that resolution. That's the resolution to appoint Michelle S. Austin Esquire as the zoning board attorney. We already received a legal opinion from our borough attorney, Sam Seresti, that the selection of the zoning board attorney is, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but the selection of the zoning board attorney is within the province of the zoning board, correct?
That's correct. So just make a motion to go forward with their nomination?
Or we're gonna have
Okay,
any,
you're doing it.
are we gonna have any discussion on
I
it?
just want to know, was there anybody else that applied for the job that might have had more experience?
But again,
Oh,
Has no, we have really not, we have nothing to do with this, vote, just vote
We
yes
just-
and it's done.
We just appropriate the funding.
Yeah, it's really a motion to appropriate funding.
mhm.
Another way, because remember originally this was listed on the agenda under appointments, so it created a little bit of confusion. And so after talking to Alan, he decided to put it down under contracts. So at this stage, it's just a certification that funds are available to appropriate for that particular position. We really can't vote on the merits. And just as an aside, I mean, I've spoken to her to see if she would like to work with me and to sit with me. I would sit with her and give her my time. She has enrolled in a program, she told me, for zoning and municipal land use law. And basically felt that if she needed me, she would call me, so I'll put it at that.
All right, let's have a roll call vote on Resolution 12-100.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Porto?
Yes.
Councilman McMillan?
Yes.
Councilman Baldwin?
Yes.
And Councilman Papalero?
Yes.
All right, now let's have a resolution and a motion to approve Resolutions 12-97 up to 12-99 by consent.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, now we're up to Resolution 12-101, up to and including 12-110. Can I have a motion and a second on those resolutions?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, can I have a motion and a second on Resolution 12-112 through 12-117?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, Councilman Porco, would you like to do 12-118, the payment of bills?
Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by 3 members of the Finance Committee. Now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $682,997.03. Recreation account, $1,266.45. Trust other account, $200. Trust other developers account, $3,820.20. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. Let's have a motion to open the hearing to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right. Go to Peggy first. Can you- can you-
41 Century Avenue. Don't want to be seen from-
All right.
The memorial that we were talking about just before, the men gave us a copy and it's being circulated. I noticed on the design, I know it's a very young design, but they had steps only into the Borough Hall. So don't forget, please, that we need accessible for handicapped. In the last page or the next to last page.
I made a note here. All right. Yeah, those steps don't even exist right now, right? Right here?
I just don't want to see it just stay in as steps, because then you're going to have trouble.
Oh, steps into the memorial, you mean?
No, steps into
Steps into the
Borough
Borough
Hall.
Hall, these don't exist right here.
They don't exist?
She's just saying not in, I was looking at it. It's just a rough sketch.
But Peggy, are you saying that you would like,
I just want to see.
the memorial itself to be handicapped
No, I
accessible?
was talking about steps into the Borough Hall.
They just take a sketch out.
We're not changing that.
No, we're not changing anything to do with the entrance to Borough Hall.
Right. Just so long as everybody else knows that when you're building.
I made a note on the memorial itself.
So, yeah, there's 2 steps.
All right, we had another member of the public over here.
This is on any issue, correct?
Any issue?
Michael Gonerman, 485 Windsor Road. speaking. I have 4 issues. I can come back and forth if you like, or we can address all 4 at this time.
You can address all 4, Michael.
Okay, very good. As being a member of the Citizen Budget Committee, this session, all 4 issues that I wish to bring up here address the budget, basically, in some aspect. The first question I have is with regards to the American Legion and the $50,000 that allocated for the budget, and the $10,000 assumed that will be used for assessment of the safety of the American Legion. That extra, assuming that it's going to be just about 10 grand or so, that extra 40 grand or so, where would that money go? Would that go into next year's budget? That's my first question. If it is not used in assessment before the Legion is knocked down or whatnot.
It's just going to remain in capital until it's allocated.
So it can be allocated for something else.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my first question. Thank you. The second one is with regards to the bylaws. First of all, with regards to council bylaws within the council, why did this issue come up in some type of change for changing the bylaws in the first place? That's my question.
We have been operating under a set of bylaws from 1937, 1927 or 1937.
Okay.
They're ancient. They're so ancient that we don't even have a hard copy. We just have a microfiche copy that's about this big of the bylaws. And the bylaws were they were enacted at the time that I don't even think women had the right to vote. They referred to the mayor as him. They list departments of the borough that we don't even have anymore. So when I was appointed to the council and I asked the current administration for a copy of the bylaws and they were produced, I saw that they were so old and they needed to be upgraded. So I was a member of a subcommittee along with Al Bartoloni and Ed Mignon to come up with a revised draft of the bylaws. And we worked as far as we could with the subcommittee, and now we have 2 different versions. So.
Okay, so assuming that there are 2 different versions, and with the fact that to get into every aspect of each version could take, hours upon hours, is that being the borough website and disseminating information to the public, would those 2 versions be available to the public so that the public could, before voting by the council, be able to see these versions that are presented?
It's public record. Whoever wants a copy of it can.
Someone could obtain that before it is voted upon?
They're here on Borough Hall.
We haven't taken any official action, so there's nothing to, you could see the 2 versions, but they're works in progress. The 2 versions may change, they may stay the same. Yeah.
Okay, no, good. I'm just curious, because these are all things that come forth in the meeting, and
absolutely,
the public there's questions, and we just don't have the opportunity to ask them, which is another great reason why any issue that's voted upon, that could be talked about is a great thing. Thank you for that, by the way.
No problem.
And my third question is with regard to the change for the DPW vehicle for the new tree truck. I do remember specifically Supervisor Lynch sitting up here during the budget meetings and addressing his concern for the safety of the tree truck. And I just think it's very fortunate, for example, that you happen to be down there and was able to see the extent of the concern of that truck for the safety of the individuals. But I do remember sitting in a budget meeting and seeing Supervisor Lynch, with all due respect to him, expressing his concern for the safety of the people that would be using that vehicle. I just have to ask this question, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, I'm just asking this question. Why do we bother sitting here on Saturday mornings asking, not only citizens to volunteer for the budget committee, but asking representatives from each organization to come up here and express their concerns if by whim and chance we're going to fall upon some type of concern or issue that comes up when a supervisor who's dedicated himself, cut his budget continually year upon year, and worked with this council. Any supervisor, any particular leader of any organization, whether it be volunteer or paid, brings their concerns for the budget and before the budget committee and asks, or put some kind of request. And not that you guys are buying it off that, we're just allocating a certain amount of money. Is my concern as a citizen, as a member of this Citizen Budget Committee, is are the supervisors, they're concerned, are they just going to the wayside? Why by chance does this question come up? It's just something I want to bring forward.
I don't know.
And you guys already...
If I could comment on
Wait,
that.
wait, let him finish
I
his
thought he was
fourth,
done.
let him finish his fourth, you had one more issue to go?
One more, yeah.
Finish that one issue and then...
No, with all due respect, I'd like to take one by one if we could just address with all due
All
respect,
right.
man.
Someone who wants to address that issue?
I'm just confused on that one. So, all of our department heads come up with their capital items. Are you saying we should just approve all of them?
I never said that. You're putting words in my mouth, John.
No, you said that if...
No, I never said that. I said, are we putting by the wayside the professionals that are in charge of each organization?
That's who comes up with capital items.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
With all due respect, as you're asking me a question, okay? Did Johnny Lynch, supervisor of the DPW, not come up here and just express his concern for the safety of this vehicle?
He came up along with...
Wait, I'm not
many
asking about other
departments.
members. I'm asking about Supervisor Lynch.
Yes, he did.
Okay, and what was your response to that?
What was his response?
Your response?
My response was that we would address it, just like, and we have to
And how did you
prioritize. And
address
as I said before, when
Did
we...
you go down and see that truck?
No.
Okay.
I don't
So
know
basically-
anything about a truck. Wait, let's get started. I don't know anything about a truck. Me going down there, I might as well just be staring at a wall. I have to go by their opinions and concerns. But then I also
But you
have to
didn't.
take... No, but I also have to take into consideration our budget, our costs, and the tax rate on the individual homeowners. And we have to prioritize.
Okay.
Now, the last time, I don't think you were at that meeting when John came up last meeting, and he talked about the tree truck, and I said that I would be willing to get the tree truck, but we have to prioritize these other items that are not safety issues, per se. But nobody wanted to do that. Okay, so you can't have both ways. I'm sorry, I don't agree with just go ahead and buying everything on the capital budget. That's $2-3 million.
Okay. That's
So
what-
we have to
that's
prioritize,
not the question I asked.
and that's what I was going by, prioritizing.
Very good.
Kathleen?
I think what
And
Mr.
then,
Gonerman's trying to say is that if Alphonse had not gone down there and just happened to be dropping something off, his truck would not even have been brought back and it would have been denied. So just for him going down,
Fortunately.
and then having a look at the truck, and now we're back to making the decision to get it because he's seen the safety issues involved. But if that wasn't the case, we would never revisit this.
Al?
Yeah, if I can. When John originally came up to us, the safety issue he was talking about was the fact that a 20-year-old vehicle would not get certified. That was the safety issue. He was discussing that he wouldn't feel comfortable putting his men in a vehicle that couldn't get certified. So that was the issue he discussed. The vehicle's 17 years old, so there's still 3 years left till it can't be certified anymore. The issue is whether you do it this year or you do it next year, buying the truck. So that was the issue. So even if it took a year and a half and you did it next year, you bought the truck, it would still be able to be certified and there would be no issues with that. He said that the truck had met all the safety criteria that it needed to in order to put his men in there. So that was the safety issue he brought to us. What was brought later on was a comment from Chief Caridi about diesel fumes. And so I wanted to see whether or not, because I don't recall John bringing that up to us, an issue of diesel fumes. I don't recall it. Maybe he did. I don't recall it. But it certainly wasn't at that first meeting when we voted it down. John brings information sometimes in pieces, and then you get the whole picture. But I did go down to the DPW yard to drop something off. It was my intention to speak with John when I went there. What was fortuitous was the guys were actually coming out when I was going in. So I got to speak to them firsthand. I would have spoken to John because when we left that night, I still had some reservations about the truck or not, putting it in this year or not, because I thought maybe it should get done, maybe it should wait till next year. The thing about our budgets is, yes, we address our capital at this time of year, but we have an opportunity throughout the year to continue to address capital. It's simply trying to find then the money in the existing budget for the down payment. We're not precluded from buying anything as the year goes along. It's just you may not have appropriated funds specifically for that, so you have to find out later on, in November, something like that, when you have, towards the end of the year, there's money available, can it be repurposed? So if you don't do it now, you can still do it, and as we said, you can still amend the budget into April. So that's how that happened But the truck is certified and can still be certified for another 3 years. And so that was the question in my mind. Do you do it this year? Do you do it next year? Looking at the capital for this year, and then looking at the capital for next year, where you may have you're going to have a fire truck. I know Chief Malvy's going to come back again next year with the fire truck, so that's going to be on the agenda again next year. And we put it off for 2 years, so that issue becomes more pressing in the third year. So looking at this year, looking at next year, projecting ahead, what are your needs this year? What are they next year? I wanted to revisit that issue. And putting it in this year, I think, just made more sense than delaying it another year. So that was my thought, and that's, why I went down. Did I have to go down to the DPW yard? Yeah, because I was tired of looking at these things in my yard, but, I was intending on speaking to John.
Paul?
Yeah, going back to the capital, Mike, this is a progress in motion. I mean, sometimes you'll get different information 3 days later, you're like, oh, let's revisit that, So when these guys get up here, it's not something that when they sit there, it's like, okay, let's go for it, or we'll cut it out. So it is a progress. So, listen, in any business out there that's going to happen, like, you'll make a decision, let's go back and revisit. And that's the opportunity of the capital. And I think that, I'm down at that yard more than anybody just because of my business. And I see a lot, and I talk to John about a lot of things. So I can overlook something. Al goes down, picks something up, gives me a call and says, maybe we should revisit this, and we'll bring that back in. So there's always, it's always something that's moving. It's not something that's solid. Okay, we have to listen to professionals. We have to listen to people who are in that, and that's what we do. So it's very tough to say, we'd never take someone's opinion, throw it aside. The people who are up there for the public budget, and yourselves a volunteer, we listen to everybody. But we do have the opportunity all year long, like Al said, to do this. So I just, just so you understand, we're not putting anybody on the side. This is just something it's in constant motion.
That's a fortunate thing, and unfortunately we're able to see that. I mean, because something like that, especially a big ticket item with any department, especially with liaison or not, like, council, it's Republican, Democrat, it's a responsibility to see what that big ticket item is and what is coming forth to you by the professionals of each department. Check it out. Get a little hands-on. We're all busy. I know it's volunteer. Sitting up here on Saturdays, whatever. Volunteer. We all do it. Whatnot. Okay? But that's your responsibility. So I'll go on to my fourth and final thing. Speaking as a citizen budget member and also as a volunteer firefighter for 16 years, it has to do with the motion that was made by Councilman Porco to turn off the Elm siren. It's a two-part question. Turn off the Elm siren and then to turn on the main and Kinnicksmack siren. In order to make that motion, does it need to be on the agenda before it is voted upon?
Sam may have a different opinion than I do. It was my opinion that the last time such a motion was made, it should have been on as a formal resolution. So if Johnny made a motion tonight that was seconded, I'm under the impression that it would be on for a formal resolution at the next meeting, at which time any member of the public could come and give us comments on it. At the last time that happened, there was a meeting of the minds, and things got done, and the fire siren issue was addressed and worked on by a bipartisan committee and the fire department and members of the public, and we were able to forestall turning off any sirens. So.
Okay, so then in fact, before something could be officially voted on, then it would be...
I have to defer to our borough attorney. Let's see what Sam says.
Yeah, I think we had this discussion on whether it should be done by resolution or ordinance, and I think ultimately we said that it was a legislative act, and therefore it should be done by ordinance. I think we should list, in my opinion, based on what I've read, we should list the location of these fire sirens, and then as they are retired or changed, then we would amend the ordinance to reflect that revision. But it should be done in the form of an ordinance as opposed to a resolution. I think that's the way it would be. And that's based on the research. At the time, I wasn't sure myself.
Thank you. And then the second part of my question with regards to that fourth question has to, again, do with the siren, of course. Being the fact that the fire department coming up with a and I don't want to speak on part of the fire department because I am not an officer, but as a concerned budget citizen and also a member of the firefighter and a resident, and growing up on Kensington Road my entire life, and hearing that siren go off as loud as it was, and responding to fire calls and doing what needed to be done. My question has to be with regards to first part being the budget. We cut the sirens and a backup system completely out of the budget. Shot down, cut out for this year. But yet, a motion would be made to, I just questioned, and it came up, a motion would come up to shut down a siren and turn on another one. Now this leads me to the final part of it. We're going to shut down, or you're not, I'm throwing that out there. That idea of shutting down the siren was put out there in the earlier session from 7 to 8 o'clock, and turning on another siren in the south end of town to complete coverage. I'm assuming based on quality of life standards for the individuals that are at Elm and Kensington. What about without researching, without putting any money in the budget for this year, turning on a siren at the south end of town, down by Main Street in Kinderkmack, what about the quality of life for the individuals down there on Elizabeth Street, and our individuals that live in the apartments? Are their quality of life not as important? And I'm speaking as an individual who grew up on Kensington Road for many, many years, longer than some people on this council have lived in this town. Is their quality of life, without being researched, no more important than the quality of lives of those individuals living up on Elm and Kensington? And to make such a hasty decision, and most importantly, out of anything I have to say tonight, putting individuals' safety at risk. Putting individuals' safety at risk, beyond anything else. That's all I have to say, and you can return with any comments you wish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Johnny?
So just to clear something up, that was the agreed upon scenario or resolution out of the citizens and the fire department that came about. As far as the people on Elizabeth, there will be some sort of, I forgot what he called it, but something that's put up in order to push the sound in the direction of not the homeowners, but the commercial area. And there was also discussion potentially that could be moved to fire company too. So there are things on the table, but this is not a hasty decision. I wouldn't use those words because these people have been complaining about this for well over a decade now. They've been complaining about this issue. So I wouldn't call this a hasty decision at all. That's all I have to say.
All right, there's other members of the public that wish to speak. Please stand. You, sir. Chief Maldi.
Thank you, Mayor. John Maldi, 770 Oak Avenue, River Edge. I'm also the chief of the fire department. With respect to Councilman Porco, I have to respectfully disagree with the statement. It was mutually agreed upon at that meeting that we had between yourself, Councilman Courts. We had a couple of firefighters there, ex-chiefs, and we also had some Citizens Action Committee from Kensington Road. And the agreement that was set aside down there was that the siren at Kinderkmack and Main would be activated, and then we would check to see what the coverage was. We would also have a study done before the siren is turned off. This conversation, I believe, was reviewed with Councilman Courts and a member of that committee earlier this week, in which Councilman Courts agreed to that that's what was going to be done, and that is what was discussed at that committee meeting. I have it in notes. The notes are written. I'm rather unprepared to have those notes in front of me tonight because I didn't see this on the agenda, and I didn't see it was going to be coming up for a vote. I do believe if it's going to come up for a vote in a second, that the fire department should have been notified and should be here, which is fortunate enough that I am here tonight. I think the ruling by Mr. Suresti, I think, would put that to bed, being that it's going to go to an ordinance. But my main reason for coming up here tonight is your statement there, Councilman Porco, is in direct conflict to what took place at that committee meeting.
I disagree, Chief, and I went back and emailed Elizabeth. She couldn't be here tonight, and I explained to her what was happening, and she replied saying that, no, that wasn't the agreed-upon thing. There was nothing in the notes. We would potentially, at one point, do a study. We would potentially try to get grants for a new system, but they were under the impression that the one was turning on and the other was turning off. And that is the impression that everybody in the room got, Chief, except for you. Or maybe except for the fire department, I don't know. But I didn't get that impression. Paul can speak for himself. But citizens did not get that impression when I touched base with them this week.
Well, I will provide you with a copy of the notes that I took there that evening.
I understand, but
I'll have those
that's
notes
not
prepared.
the impression what the citizens
And I'll
had.
also address Councilman Courts. As Councilman Courts, you had a discussion earlier this week with a member of the committee, and you were under the understanding as well that there was going to be a study done before the siren was turned off to make sure that we had adequate coverage.
Yeah, but I talked to Assistant Chief Critty about that. I said, the agreement was, when we sat there, was to work on the Kensington fire alarm, siren, and then also turn the one down to Main Street on. At the same time, shut the other one down when we shut it down. Okay, this is a long private conversation as far as, we'll shut it down on the side, okay, without taking the resolution on that. As far as the testing of it, that was not part of it. The testing part was not, we weren't going to have to test, test all the alarms on that. We were trying to eliminate the problem right off the bat and then go for your testing. That's what I was away from that meeting. That's what I talked to Chief Critty about. That's our conversation that we had. So I'm not making this up. This is what Chief and I had. Now, I would be fine to get the same group we had last time. If we're going to meet again, next couple nights, pull together, sit down, get our notes back in order again, and move forward.
It's fine.
Just to sit here and argue about it, to me, it's a waste of time.
Well, again, I do have to say, and the word was used before, it is in haste. I think the decision is made very quickly. There has to be adequate coverage for the fire department, and we don't know whether that Kinnicamack Road and Main siren's going to do that.
Well, I read from an email tonight, one of the members, was Kathleen, Elizabeth, she had no problem, on that email I read that she had no problem meeting again together and start fresh. Not start fresh, but just pick up where we left off. I know that we have Academy coming in, that they were going to do both in one shot.
Academy is not needed to turn the siren off at Kensington and Elm.
What was it?
We do not need Academy to turn the siren off.
Whatever. All I'm saying, if we can set up another meeting, we can do this again. I didn't want to do it in front of everybody. A phone call would have been fine. We could have done this. Fine. We know it wasn't going to go anywhere tonight. We'll make a phone call. We'll get this thing together. We'll work it out. It's just in front of you means it's just too official. I think that we can do what we did last time, work it out, get the groups together, and then pick up where we left off and just move forward.
So the question is that this is a motion on the floor. It could get carried tonight.
And I was going to pull my motion after this conversation. So I was going to pull my motion. I'm not going to sit here and beat this, beat a dead horse here. Let's just I'll pull my motion off the table. And then it's up to John if he wants to do
Johnny's motion.
But I'll pull my second
Pull your second.
off the table, and let's just meet, and we'll just get this thing cleared and go forward again with it.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep. Neil Carroll.
Neil Carroll, 321 Wales Avenue. After last week's lengthy discussion on the budget, capital versus the regular budget, I'm still confused what we're going to do with the leaves.
Leaves?
Leaf pickup. Am I going to have to pack every bag and put it out at the curb for the leaves this year, which was brought up by Councilman Porco to have all the residents, rather than John Lynch picking up the leaves, we were going to put them in bags.
Wait a second. I never said anything about bagging.
Wait a minute. One at a time, please. There was a, I don't know if you recall or not, but there was a subcommittee set up to discuss the leaf issue. And if a member of the subcommittee wants to report on whether you've met or looked at anything or come up with anything yet, or is it all preliminary?
No, we haven't discussed anything about it yet.
Nothing's been discussed.
We just came out of the budget meeting. This The mayor asked to put a subcommittee. It's myself, John, and Kathy, as far as on the subcommittee. We really haven't had a chance to really pull something together with the current budget right now, but we will meet in the next couple of weeks or so. We'll give answers
Well,
on
when the
this.
subcommittee meets, I have a suggestion for that portion of not putting them in bags. We had questions from Councilman Porco, once again, to Mr. Lynch, about how much he was going to go over in his overtime for snow plowing. And since we haven't had any snow plowing, so to speak, maybe we could use that money from the snow plowing so that we could do the overtime for the leaves and have a happy medium, because I don't feel like doing all the trees in my area. I live in an older neighborhood, and there's a lot of big trees, another one coming down again tomorrow, but the people on the block don't really want to pack the leaves into bags and put them out at the curb. I think it's going to be a terrible inconvenience to the public.
Can I be clear again? I did not say anything about overtime with the snow shoveling. I don't know where these things are coming up that I said. I don't know where the minutes are.
Mr. Lynch was up here for a budget session.
And I asked about...
I can go back and...
You should go back to the video, because I never asked anything about overtime and snow plowing.
Unfortunately, it was a work session, and like I asked last week, Mr. Mayor, through the chair, all of the work sessions are not on the YouTube. The sync is out.
Last week's work session is up there, so you can go back and check the video, but I did not say anything about either one of those two items. They were brought up, but not by me, so please do not put words in my mouth, things I said.
Do we have any, because we do have to go into...
I just want to address that real quick. Just in the interest of fairness to Johnny, John Lynch came up to us with a number of items for discussion. He brought up the topic of the leaves. It wasn't anybody up here. Mr. Lynch came up to us with that, and we assigned it to a subcommittee. It wasn't generated from us, it was actually from Mr. Lynch.
Mayor, the second half of that concerning, once again, Mr. Lynch's conversation with the mayor and council. If we do in fact don't want to buy the tree truck, you do remember his safety concerns with the hydraulics and the tires and the fumes coming into the vehicle. Those items still have to be put back in the budget because they were taken out with the assumption they was promised a truck last year. So we'll have to put all those items back in the budget, which is going to throw your numbers off again. Another nightmare for Alan.
He specifically said, Mr. Carroll, that if we were getting a new tree truck, he wouldn't have to do that work.
Correct.
He asked to put that money in because we had voted no, so he said he wouldn't do that work this year. So I don't see that we have to put any money in repairs. He specifically said, if you got the tree truck, I don't have to do the repairs.
Well, but he told us
the tree truck.
But he told us it takes 18 months to get a tree truck.
I asked him that specific question, and he said no.
That's what he said before in the past, it's 18 months.
Yeah, but he said...
I asked him specifically if there were safety concerns, why aren't they being addressed now? And he said they did not have to restore that money, that's what he said.
All right, any other comments?
Which doesn't make sense to me, but I think...
Just going off what he said.
How you doing? Rick Frost, 160 Lozier Terrace in River Edge. I want to talk about the assessment so I can better understand it, if that's possible. To be frank, I moved here about 3 years ago, relocated to the town of River Edge. At that time, I bought a new construction home, so the existing home was knocked down, reassessed by the town. So when I say you, I mean the town. I bought the home here in River Edge, even though I looked at a lot of other communities, because at the time, the taxes on that home were $10,000, assessed by you, the town. Now I'm currently paying about $14,000. I've been in my home since November of 2008. Under your new assessment, my taxes are going to increase to $19,000. I bought that home 3 years ago. 3 years. I want to understand, and I understand the school board has a big effect on this. So now, unfortunately, I got to go to a school board meeting, and I don't have time. I bought a home 3 years ago with an assessment by this town of $10,000. They went up quickly after that to $12,000. Now they're $14,000. Under your proposal, with the increase in the tax rate, which has gone up every year since I've lived here. My tax is going to go to $19,000. I want to ask every one of you, do you think a 90% increase, I'll say that again, 90% in 3 years is valid? Because I'll be honest with you, I didn't have a 90% increase in my salary. I don't know anyone who has. 90%. That's no joke. You are, the town, the school board is taxing people out of their home. I bought the home in River Edge, and I looked at Oradell, I looked at Franklin Lakes, and again, didn't live in Bergen County, not from Bergen County. Born and raised in Newark. My father was a Newark fireman for 29 years, so I'm as blue collar as you get. My mother's a secretary at Rutgers University, why I wear the shirt, still is. Blue collar as you can get. $19,000. Can't afford it, to be honest with you. I've already talked to my wife. We're going to have to move out of the town. Probably move out of state. The decisions that you guys made along with the school board, so I defer that you only have about 40% of the budget. I get that. Smart enough to know that. School board needs to also understand this. But somewhere, someone needs to stand up, call a timeout, throw a flag, and say, this is ridiculous. We are taxing people out of their home. My home taxes will be higher. I have a 20-year mortgage, and all this is public, you can see it. You guys assessed my house before I bought it in 2010, or excuse me, 2008. When I bought it, before I bought it, I said to the real estate agent, as we all do, what are going to be my taxes? Well, proposal's about $10,000. Said, but they may go up because, once you sell it, you may have a little bit. Okay, understand. I feel like it was false advertising. I have no recourse. Because in 3 years, 90% increase. 3 years. Someone's got to fix it. It's crazy. Can't afford it. I absolutely, to be very frank with you, would never have bought my home in this town. And I have done a little bit of work. This is empirical data, I think is what it is. So it's not based on scientific data that I've looked at. I've looked at other towns with similar homes than I have. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have a McMansion, so don't sit up there and think I got a mansion. I got a 3,000 square foot home. It supposedly has 2-car garage. I can only fit one. Okay? I got a lot that's tiny. We all know what the lots are in River Edge. So I don't have a mansion. It is a new construction. It's not a mansion. It's on Lozier Terrace. Okay? $19,000. My data, just very, very quickly, I've compared homes around my size. Again, empirical data. Franklin Lakes, Oradell, we have the highest taxes are here. Franklin Lakes, a home similar size, again, similar size, not perfect, probably not apples to apples, I'll give you that. Much bigger lot, less taxes than I'm paying. We're not Franklin Lakes, folks. We're not.
Well, I have to agree with you. I sit up here stunned too. When this formula came out a couple of years ago, I looked at it and I talked to our former councilman there. I said, this is just shifting costs to other people. I said, we were advised by our tax assessor to go with this because it's going to save us from getting killed by lawsuits, they were on the way and they were on the rise. I think most of us are shocked how this came out. I mean, I have friends who jumped up 7,000, 8,000. I have a list of it in my.
Yeah, it's public.
Exactly. But I have to agree with you. And then I look on the other end. I see people's houses, even my own house. People have bigger houses who got tax reductions, and I didn't get one, like I should have compared to what they have. So I don't know. This is all new to us. This just came out the past couple of days, and I think everyone's still trying to breathe now about what's going on. So I can only imagine what's going to come down in the next couple of weeks. As far as people either, I don't know what to say. I think we have to bring our tax man up here and, have him explain it, because it's almost in a case where, and you're right, you came to this town, it was taxed by us.
Only reason I think.
Exactly. And now you're all of a sudden, Are you saying that they did the wrong job or you did the wrong job? Well, you didn't do the wrong job because you came into the town saying, this is what I pay, here you go. Now
And you
get-
guys assessed, I mean, that's the thing, when I say you, the town had already assessed this home.
Absolutely.
They had assessed it in 2008 because it was new construction. You had to do it. That's your laws. That's what you have to do. So I was
Absolutely.
absolutely false advertising. And anyone who's watching this on TV, or people who think, because unfortunately I'm married, fortunate or unfortunate, I'm married to a CPA. So she's looked, and she's a stay-at-home mom. She's probably have to get a job now to continue living in town. She's looked at the assessments, every one. So people whose assessment actually went down, unless your house went down at least 20%, don't feel happy that your assessment went down 7 or 8 or 9. Your taxes will still go up.
Absolutely.
Because the
Yeah.
rate
The rate-
continues to go up.
And that's what I said, when this thing came out, the rate, the trigger is that rate that comes in.
Right, so anyone sitting at home who thinks, hey, my assessment went down 10%, I'm gonna see a tax decrease, you're absolutely
Absolutely
wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong because the rate continues to go up, and that's the part of the problem. Now, I don't know if that's a school board, again, I'm gonna have to start going there. Someone's gotta get the rate under control. Like I said, someone's gotta call a timeout. This is ridiculous.
Well,
And this is all happening in, by the way, as we all know, the greatest economic downturn since the Great Depression. My taxes are increasing 90%, and not just me, to be fair, everyone else in this town, their taxes for the most part are going up in this town every year. So it was absolutely false advertising, and unfortunately I'm not a lawyer like Mr. Suresti. I don't know if I have any recourse, because I absolutely would not have bought this home knowing this. Would not have bought it.
Mayor?
Ed?
I'm in complete agreement with you. One of the issues I have is a procedural issue. When you look at all the assessments like I have, and I'm speaking as a layperson, I'm not a CPA, and some of my analysis may be wrong. But when I saw what I saw, I would have hoped that the tax assessor and/or the person from the revaluation company would have came and briefed us as to what the impact was. Based on what I looked at, there were only 254 houses that saw an increase in assessment. Not taxes, but assessment.
Right, exactly.
Okay? About 1,000 went up overall. The 254 houses that were raised in assessments, their taxes went up an aggregate of $900,000. I looked at houses in specific brackets from, say, 500 to 600 and 600 to 700. And again, this is just pure observation, whether it can be
Which is what I've
justified. It
been
may be by real estate appraisal. I'm just saying, pure statistically, I'm looking at it. There were, in the 600s, there were approximately 80 houses. Out of those 80 houses, 10s were lowered their assessments into the low 400s from the mid to high 600s. So was there a reason? I don't know. Same with the 500s. There were 75 houses out of the 120 or 130 that went down to the low 4s also. So some have massive decreases in assessments. I couldn't really see any rhyme or reason, and that's one of my questions. I said there may be a reason for it, but the way I look at it, when you get 92% of the town was devalued, something seems a little off kilter to me, and I didn't want to get into it tonight because I'm waiting for our tax assessor and hopefully a representative from the appraisal company to come and explain this, because just looking at the raw data, it does look like there's some anomalies, to say the least, and if they can be explained away, that's one thing, but yeah, the fact of the matter is, some people did get hit with a lot of...
And just so you guys know, we're following the process that you detailed. My wife's meeting with the assessor or whoever
Yes.
it is tomorrow. She has an appointment. I
Well,
feel
with the
sorry
reval
for
company.
the reval. I feel sorry for them because, as I said, she's a CPA, so she's going to drive nuts with numbers. They're going to have a long day. But here's the other issue. We all know this. I'm assuming most people here, maybe not everyone, most people can't sell. I can't sell my house today for what I bought it for in 2008 in November. Can't sell it. It's a fact. We all know that. But somehow, miraculously, I can't sell it for what I bought it for. My assessed value through this town now is higher than what it was in 2008, and my taxes are 90% higher. 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 6.
There does seem to be an issue with houses that have, that are either newer or reconstructed or had work done in the last, say, 5 or 6 years. I must have had probably 10 people from my neighborhood come to me personally and, Ed, what the heck do you guys do? And I didn't have any forewarning. I didn't know what to expect, so I said, I have to look at it myself. And it's the same thing. People are telling me the same thing. Well, we got reevaluated in 2005, 2006. We did construction. They came and reassessed. We went up X%, and now we're going up another 10, 15, 20% on top of that. Now, again, there might be different standards of assessment. One was done by this company, maybe the other ones were done by the tax assessor themselves. I don't know how much subjectivity there is to that. I'm not a real estate professional. But these are the questions I do have for them, and, I'm interested in finding out as much as you are, what the reasoning was.
I appreciate that. And the last thing I'll leave you with, and then you guys can comment as much as you like, and I'll shut up, is, I think you all know this, the decision you guys make here and that the school board makes as well, these decisions aren't made in a vacuum. You can't. Because you can't just look at today, you got to look at the future. You're making decisions today that impact this town in the future. And you got to look at which one of your kids, which one of your grandkids can afford to live in this town in 10 years with the way the taxes go up. Which ones? Someone's got to be there to sell these homes and to buy them. And I don't know what kind of job my kids or your grandkids are going to need to be able to afford a home where your taxes in the house are $2,000 a month just to live in the damn house. Forget your mortgage, forget your electricity, forget everything else. It's not possible. Someone has to pull the ripcord on the train to make the train stop. It's just not possible. And one last thing is my wife and I actually were considering finishing our basement. We don't have a basement, Dutch basement. We're considering do it. Local guy going to do it. Cost was about $20,000. We were going to do it. Everything was moving forward. That stopped. I will make no home improvements in my house, not one. So that builder isn't getting the $20,000. He ain't employing workers that might have worked in this town, I don't know, I won't say that, and buying stuff. Because I don't want my taxes to go up even further. Because I can hardly afford them now under this proposal, which I think you guys potentially, and maybe with the school board, have a chance to stop. So thanks for your time. This is my first time here, and unfortunately you'll probably be seeing me back.
What was your address, sir?
160 Lozier, L-O-Z-I-E-R Terrace. And it was a house that was knocked down, built by a local builder here. And as I said, we're going to do some work to it. Stop. I won't make any improvements in my house.
And you have half the basement, right? That's the half the basement.
I got the Dutch basement, absolutely. Dutch basement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Colin Busty, 597 Moat Road, Woodbridge, New Jersey. The budget that you introduced tonight, what is the average increase on the taxpayer with that budget?
Alan could tell you.
It was $142 on a home assessed at $436,000, which was the old typical house.
The average home's increase will be 141?
142.
142.
5%.
That's under the 2% cap.
But it's an overall 5% increase on the tax rate.
Johnny?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to some of those comments. And again, if there was anomalies or issues when we bring them up, we'll have to address that on a case-by-case basis. But I think the bigger issue that you brought up, or I hope you were bringing up, was the fact that our taxes were going up. 90% is absolutely ridiculous. But 40 and 50% is not much better. 40% in 3 or 4 years is not okay. And that's what I've been trying to get across, but it doesn't seem to get. While a lot of people complain about their taxes out there to me, nobody comes here and voices it to this council, or very, very, very few voice it to this council. Yet departments will bring in hundreds of people, or 50 people at a time, 30 people here, 100 people there, to get their issues passed. And we never want to take a hit on any sort of service. And while I don't want to either, if it was my home budget, I sure would take a hit to make sure that, it's a benefit for the whole town, or for myself, or whatever. But people don't view this. If this was somebody's business, they would absolutely take a hit. They would find other ways to do it. But for some reason, in government or whatever, it's like it's not their money. It's like it's free money. It's like, okay, whatever, we'll just spend it, and, we have it, or 2%, that's okay, it's 2%. No, just because you have a 2% cap or whatever, doesn't mean that you should go to it. We should try to do things differently. You're absolutely right that we are pricing ourselves out of our own homes. Our kids won't be able to sell them for the same values or percentage of value. And it's just, that's what I keep trying to get across, but not enough people want to either listen or put in the time to come here and say, you know what, enough is enough. because we're getting to dangerous levels, but I hope that this message gets out there and people do start to say, you know what, enough. Stop. We have 1.5 million in debt, bonds and interest. 1.5 million. It's the highest ever. It's not okay. We have staffs that we could potentially do things a little differently with, or try to do things a little differently, yet we do the same old stuff, over and over again, and it's not working, and we don't address it. We just keep doing it over and over again. The capital items come up and people just want their stuff. Yes, there are issues here and there, but people just want to buy it. Okay, these are expensive items that we need to look at different ways to do it, whether we partner up with the town or I don't know, but there has to be other options. We don't need to do every service in-house because it's just not cost-effective anymore. And that's all.
We're still open to the public.
We're still open to the public. So, is there another member of the public who wishes to speak?
Mayor and Council, Dominic D'Agostino, Anna D'Agostino, 291 Oak Ave, River Edge. Like my buddy here in the red sweatshirt, we're here about our taxes also. I understand that you can't do anything now, but we moved here a year ago, we got married a year ago, trying to better our life. After we did buy one of these new houses that was rebuilt, or knocked down and rebuilt, by one of our local builders in town here. And after 1 year ago, it was reassessed with the addition that he put on. We're paying $19,700 in taxes a year. With this reassessment, I don't understand how, but in this market, they reassessed our house $80,000 higher, and now we're going to be paying $24,000 a year. Like my buddy said, we just moved here a year ago, and she wants to put the house up for sale.
We'll never get it, which is the shame, because now we're kind of stuck. We'll never get the money we spent in 2010. We bought it late 2010. There has been not one improvement in the house, and I was always a firm believer, if the taxes are higher, that's okay, it's a great school district, we don't have to pay for private school. We don't have any children yet, so by the time we have children in the school system, we'll have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on our taxes, and our basement's tiny, we don't have an acre of land, it's a beautiful home, I love it, but there's nothing that separates it from the other homes that are paying less in other towns that are comparable. And nobody is buying houses for the amount that our house is being assessed for, not now.
What is your house being assessed for? What was the assessment?
$814,000.
Up from $734,000.
I contacted our realtor, he's given us comps, that houses just sold in January that look exactly like ours, $785,000.
I just, and I know it's not you, I just don't understand how, without one thing being done, an assessment can go up $80,000 when the market has done nothing but gone down. It's been a year, 1 year. I was at work, I almost fell off my feet when he told me. I said, let's put a sign up, a for sale sign. I can't, I'm a teacher, I work after school tutoring, I work Saturday programs when I can't work anymore.
Half of her salary will be paying our taxes this year, next year. Half of her salary. We have a meeting with ACS. I was on the zoning board in Garfield for 6 years, so I understand what's going on. I know there's nothing that the mayor and council can do at this point, but we do have the meetings with AS. On Friday, we have a meeting with the tax assessor tomorrow. We're just hoping that something can be done. It's just crazy. We moved here to try to better ourselves, to buy the house of our dreams, and like he said, we were told, the taxes may be 14, 15. All right, it's high. It's higher than what I was paying in Garfield, but it's doable. I get the tax bill for this year, right here, $19,700. $19,700.
Already 1,000 up. I think we were at 18,200.
Yeah, $19,700.
When we first moved in.
So we were, with the reassessment after the construction, it was like $735,000. Now we get the reassessment from AES Appraisal Systems, and it's $814,000 in this market. I stopped at the tax office today, and she's given me this chart that shows that we're back to house prices from 2003. This is River Edge medium sales, house prices. 2003, they didn't go up, they went down. I don't understand how my assessment went up $80,000. It's just that they are pricing us out of town. I mean, we're good people. I'm a physician in Garfield. She's a teacher in Garfield. We come here to, you know, our property is immaculate. Our neighbors are great, but now we want to put a for sale sign on the house. We're never going to get that price. Never.
And it also raises the question of, if this continues at this rate, I mean,
Absolutely.
where will we be 5 years into this home?
Absolutely.
When we maybe have kids in the school system, we'll be paying $30,000 at minimum? With these, this is 25% increase from a year ago when we first moved in. I mean, it's just, it's like, I feel like I'm being robbed, and I really never wanted to have a bad taste in my mouth with River Edge. We moved here loving it. Such a great small town, we were exploring it, going to any functions we could find, and now I'm almost like very upset. I was very upset today, and I don't want to feel that way about the community that I live in. I want to go to the pool, but right now I don't think I want to pay any more money to even go to the swim club. It should be free if I'm paying $25,000 in taxes. And there's a waiting list. You know what I mean? I know it's not you guys, it's just, it's very frustrating to hear a $5,000 jump just like that for nothing. We didn't add anything.
They didn't even come into our house to look at
And that may be the
to do
problem.
the assessment.
They may
I don't know what
assume
they're
we have
looking at.
more than we do. We don't have, you know, marble columns and marble ceiling. Maybe if they came in to take a look and see that it's not as grand as they think it is inside.
I said I could bring a Home Depot catalog and show you everything that's built inside the house. I mean, that's what this builder used.
Yeah, you have to be with the assessment company, go over your property record card, see that they have all the measurements correct, see that they have all of the fixtures and everything that are correct, if there's any discrepancies. I hear you. I was never in favor of this reassessment. Cost us, the town, $175,000. I voted against it. I knew it was going to open up a can of worms. It's opened up a can of worms. You know, maybe 2,000 single-family homes were adjusted downward, but 1,000 single-family homes were adjusted upward. Some of several hundred way upward. So, you know, I have two words for you: tax appeal.
Yeah, Mayor, I did pull the property record, right? And they said it's from 2005. So I don't know if AS has a more recent card. This is not like any of our property information on this card that I
Not
pulled
on
today.
there.
No. I mean, the building information is here, but it's telling me I have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. I mean, that's nothing, you know. And we hired the city manager from Garfield, Tom Dutch, to do our tax appeal. Because it's just crazy. It's ridiculous.
Question to Al.
We already hired him.
Can we have a representative from that firm come in to the council and explain to us?
Absolutely.
Our clerk to schedule that.
And Mr.
already.
Enzavino.
I mean, we do have a meeting with them.
But I want to have
Friday.
him publicly come and explain the process, because you're not the only folks who...
I understand.
It's a smaller number than the other side, but you still have a right to know how they did it, why they did it, and how some of these anomalies happened, and how they're, you know, should be addressed, so... I think
Would
it's
you
important.
think that there's any chance that anything could get... You have no
I don't know.
idea,
I mean, they can explain it to us how they did it.
But that's a
doesn't
starting
mean that
point. I want
understand.
to hear how some of these swings happen, and how do you explain it?
Right.
Right, if it makes logical sense somehow, then maybe I would reconsider how I feel, but in any way that you do, I can't see logically it going up at this rate.
Honestly, I don't even think that would change how I feel. I mean,
No,
paying
I can't see
$24,000 in
it.
taxes is not worth it. We don't have any kids in the school system. I mean, what are we getting for it? What are we getting for? We can't even go to the swim club, the pool for $24,000 a year. We have to pay extra for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Any further comments from the public? Thank you.
It's like 741 Center Avenue. What I don't understand with all this assessment, it sounds like they went around their house just like they did all of ours. The man that came to our house could not be more than 5 seconds. He walked from the front of my house to the back of my house. When my husband went to look through, he was gone. And he was doing that to every house. He was just walking around it, walking around it, walking around it. What does he know about assessing the house when that's all he was doing? Go in. They didn't go in any of our neighbors' houses.
Right. All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
All in favor? All right, we have several items in closed session that we have to take care of. What?
Are we going to do council comments?
All right, you want to do council comments? We'll do council comments before adjourning.
Are we going back to work session at all?
After closed session, I think we have two attorneys here.
160.
Who wants to make a council comment?
I have no comment.
Cal?
Yeah, I do, I guess, since I brought it up. I want to thank everybody for coming and for their questions and their comments about the budget and where it is going and, you know, how did we get to the point where we're at? That's a pretty good question, and I wonder that myself at night. And as I was saying earlier, there's nights I stay awake and wonder about the budget and where is River Edge going and where are we going to get to. What can I say about this year's budget? It's actually 2.23% less than last year's. And people are going to see a tax increase. And I said this before and I'll keep saying it. How did that happen? How does that happen if your budget actually goes down $325,000, but your taxes are going to go up? How do you get to that point, and what happened? And you need to be a student of history and see where the town came from and how it got to the point where it's at. And unfortunately, we're dealing with circumstances where, you know, and I invite everybody, come take a look at this, and anybody wants a copy, I'll be happy to make a copy for anybody, the information that we have. But what we keep looking at year after year after year is a reduction in revenue. And the primary reduction that we're seeing this year, and it's actually even worse than our initial projections, was in our available surplus. In fact, this year we're only going to have $425,000 in surplus. I think we thought we were going to have about $523,000, somewhere around there. And that's coming off of last year's, where we had $1.17 million in surplus. And the year before that, it was 1.4. And the year before that, it was 2.4, I think. And then the year before that, it was 3.4 million in surplus. And the year before that, 3.4 million in surplus. Every year in the late 2000s, the members who sat up on this council kept dipping into a fund called the surplus. At one point, this town had over $9 million in the bank. And for some reason, someone thought, it'll be great if we can deliver zero tax increases by dipping into this fund. And that's like, let's say you make $100,000 a year, and you have $100,000 in the bank, all right? And every year, you take $20,000 out of that, so that you're living at an income of $120,000. And that's great for a couple years, but after 5 years, guess what? That money's gone. And now you've set up a standard of living on $120,000 when you only bring in $100,000 a year. And for years, that's what this town was doing, living above its means. It would have a budget in the high 14 millions, but it would only bring in 11 million in revenue. There's a disconnect. You can't run budgets of 14.5 million, 14.7 million when you don't have revenue to support that. And that's what happened for a number of years, so that people could come to you and say, guess what, we're not going to raise your municipal taxes this year, aren't we great? But it was an unsustainable system. And so what did you see when that collapsed? Well, you saw gimmicks, essentially. You saw furloughs of municipal employees. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is a gimmick. It gets you to a legal budget, but overall, it does absolutely nothing. It's a gimmick. We had pension deferrals. Instead of paying our obligations to our pension, this is something the state does a lot of times. You see how it's worked out for the state. Town tried to do the same thing. A gimmick. Deferring a pension payment. So for years, you saw these gimmicks to try and make up for just a lack of planning. And now with this budget, am I happy with it? I think we worked really hard to get to the number that we're at. I think we probably could have put a little less into surplus and a little bit more into tax reduction, which is why I voted no tonight. Hopefully we will revisit this issue. But I think, and I hope with this budget that we're turning a corner. Because what you saw in 2010 was a $250 tax increase on an average home. And you saw last year, I think it was about $225, maybe a little less, $210, something like that. And this year, hopefully, you're going to see maybe, if we revisit this, maybe $120, $110, something like that. And I think we deserve to revisit it. Hopefully, we're turning the corner. Hopefully, we're coming back to what I think are sustainable budgets that make sense, that they're based on actual revenue. Because the years of having surplus are over. That money was spent. And now we talk about capital, and why is there so much in capital? Well, we're addressing critical infrastructure needs in this budget. Do you want to spend the money? No. No, you don't want to. But when you have roofs that leak, or emergency generators that don't work, or don't meet the needs of the public, you have to replace them. And that's the situation we're in right now. This council inherited an infrastructure that was falling apart on all of our buildings, either the roofs or the HVAC systems, and we're trying to correct those. And we're unfortunately going to have to spend a little money on that. And I think it's unfortunate that we have to do it. But when you're trying to meet critical needs and critical infrastructure, you have no choice. But I think we are turning the corner. I think we're working, or I think by next year, we will have a sustainable budget based on realistic numbers that can be verified year after year after year, instead of the policies of the past that failed this borough. So, again, I thank everybody for coming up, and we'll try and address the issues, of these houses that, were assessed above what, potentially the market bears. And I think maybe the 19th, we're going to have somebody from the appraisal systems here, so I invite everybody to come back for that. Thank you.
All right. Johnny?
The only thing I would add to that is that what's amazing about that surplus depletion is that we still have trucks and all this equipment that's broken down that needs to be replaced. You would think that after all those millions of dollars that was spent, that we would have nothing to replace in these last few years. And yet we have trucks that are hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace, still in existence, still out there working. I just have no idea where this money went.
I wasn't going to have any comments. I don't disagree with either one of the councilmen said, but I think a couple of things have to be put into context. We're talking about replacing a 26-year-old tree truck that's gotten a lot of service.
17.
I'm sorry, 17. I'm thinking of the fire truck. I'm getting confused. Sorry. 17 has gotten a lot of service, and that was a desperate need for both the hurricane and the Halloween storm. And got a bit of a pounding. And to be honest with you, over the last couple of years, it's gotten a little pounding. So I think that has to be put into context, that we're replacing equipment that has been well used, or at least to my understanding has been well used. And I did go down and do a tour with John Lynch of the DPW. The fire truck is 26 years old. It's been well kept. A lot of the other equipment, the equipment I saw, Kathleen and I saw at DPW, was very well kept, but nothing lasts forever. So I think that's the first thing that we have to put into context. I don't disagree with the councilman said, but I do think that it has to be put into context. Second, trying to blame past councils for what they did or didn't do, well, decisions are made at the time. Surplus exists to some degree, is enhanced to some degree, rather, by interest rates. Interest rates have just bottomed out. And I spoke to Alan about this a while back, and I might have gotten it wrong, and Alan certainly could correct me. But interest rates on the surplus we were getting was quite substantial. Why they decided to do the purchases they did or didn't do, I think now we're getting to more of a partisan conversation, which I think is a mistake. In addition to that, one of the things I feel very strongly is River Edge has had a very bad track record. I'm not saying it's Democratic fault or Republican fault or both, but we seem to have had a very bad track record of encouraging businesses and keeping businesses. We have been micromanaging them. Before we got onto council, Kathleen and I sat in the junior window seats, and a developer came in and said, we want to build 47 condo units, 2-bedroom condo units on Kinderkamak, and the council was having a problem saying yes, until the developer said, which I think is a problem that we've been having, if you micromanage and you wait and you wait and you wait, then the backers are going to disappear. And the council, I think correctly, and I commended this council for it, last year's council rather, finally decided to move ahead. And in addition to that, we had a structure at the Hoffman Coos. It got torn down. There was a $200,000 tax appeal adjustment. It's been 4 years, $800,000 there. This will be the 5th year. That's $1 million in lost revenue. Yes, we do have a revenue problem, and I think to some degree, and this again can be open debate, is part of our problem. I also think the property that they're going to be building on Kinderkamak, that's been more than 5 years, and they estimated that once they get a CO, we earn $130,000. So just in the last 5 years, if those two properties had been developed, that's $330,000 a year for 5 years. That's a substantial amount of money. So I do not disagree with what you said, but I think it has to be put into context. I don't think we need to go back and start, saying, well, they did it all wrong and we're doing it all right. I think I would feel very strongly that what we need to do is say, for whatever reason we got here, how are we going to fix it? Let's work together. I think we've been working well together. I think we have to look at the commercial side to increase the revenues. I agree with you. We don't have enough revenues. I agree with Johnny. We can't keep spending. But I do believe that we have been doing a very judicious, a very responsible budget. Could we find some more? Maybe we can. I'm not saying we can't. But I just think that we have to say, these are the cards we've dealt, regardless of how it happened, and this is what we have to fix, and we have to put our minds to going forward, not going back and looking at who may or may not have been at fault without having been there looking at the facts that was presented to those councils at that time. That's my opinion, and that's my comment.
All right, thank you. Just one comment, just one or two comments. I hate to say that I told you so, but I told you so. The reassessment was a bad idea. It was a shell game. It moved numbers around. The residents who had newer homes or had worked on their homes or had improved their homes are going to bear the brunt of the reassessment. It really opened up a can of worms. I don't know how it's going to be fixed. I didn't support it. I still don't support it. There's nothing we can do about it now because it's the cow's out of the barn. I'm proud of the council has voted to hire a grant consultant because in these times when our revenues are decreasing, grants can be used to offset that loss of revenue, and I hope we go forward with our grant applications. I want to thank all the members of the public for showing up. The meetings are much more enjoyable when we have members of the public here, and that they're bright and alert and ask great questions. So I want to thank everybody for coming today. And to please come to our meetings in the future. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Changes. There is the appointment and the hire of, Alan, what's the name again?
Emma Hums, or Mercia Hums, 418 Lafayette Avenue, River Edge, 20 hours per week.
As a part-time tax collector, 20 hours per week at an hourly rate of
$15.74.
$15.74 per hour, with a 6 months probationary period effective March 6, 2012. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? We discussed this in closed session.
I
Alan?
apologize, Mayor. The effective date is March 19th.
As of March 19th, okay. As amended.
Yes. Second.
As amended, any further discussion? We discussed this in closed session? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right.
Motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
Second.
Anything else in old business or new business, Alan?
Not that I know of.
I have a new business, Mayor.
All right.
New businesses, I just want to replace John Porco with Alphonse Bartoloni to the liaisonship to the rec. Just need a motion on that.
Oh, wait a minute. I'll make the nomination.
All right.
I'll nominate John to replace Al.
No, vice versa.
What?
Reverse it.
Al to replace John.
Al to replace John as the liaison.
Yes.
All right. All right, I just need your consent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good.
And I have one more to
Opposed on philosophical grounds.
I have one more for the zoning board. I'd like to nominate Scott Fletcher to replace the position of Rob Turnison.
All right, didn't we,
It's already done.
That was already done? I don't think so.
was that already done? That was a formal resolution. I think that was on a prior agenda.
Was the,
It was tabled.
You talk about
Was
Roland.
tabled?
I thought it was
Yeah,
That
Rollman was tabled.
no, yeah, Rome was taken up. We never put Fletcher on.
Is that the one where you needed 30 days?
Yeah, 30 days.
Oh, is that what the whole
It's
thing
been
is?
30,
Yeah.
hasn't been 30 days yet.
Was it 3 days?
No, it hasn't been 30 days.
It hasn't been 30 days.
That wasn't Scott, though. That was, I have to look back. I'm
Anyway.
confusing myself.
It should be by a formal resolution.
Yeah.
I understand, the last one was tabled, right? I don't know,
Yes,
We have
yes.
to look at, anyway, put it on the consent agenda, or no, not the consent agenda. Put it on the next meeting's list of appointments.
And, I'll call you, there's one, and Matt Clemente to do the alternate. That's what I
No,
told
we
you the
didn't.
day. He yelled at me for calling.
Who's the officer?
Matt Clemente, he's
Oh, Matt
on
Clemente.
Citizens
Yeah.
budget.
Citizens budget.
Move him to
yeah.
assistant, or alternate on zoning.
Okay.
I'm gonna check on this, because I thought I had Fletcher already.
Right.
Fletcher, he's an alternate, but I think it's
He was, we're just
Make him
moving
full
up
member.
Up to, but he was, yeah.
One of them present.
I'll let-
Tunison resigned, right?
Right,
The placekeeper was Al Ruhlman,
right,
that we never got a second on,
right,
so there was no action.
correct.
And now, Councilman Courts recommended Fletcher,
Okay.
so that's going to be on for formal appointment.
And moving Mr. Fletcher to the permanent position creates an alternate position, and that's where Mr. Clement comes in.
Exactly.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good.
There was a motion, are we taking